So we're going to start it again. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. We have 30 minutes today to quickly talk through how you can progress your career in uncertain times. And it's going to be rapid fire quick because I want to share some tips with you, but also I want to be able to take some of the questions because I know some of you have burning questions. You have possibly real life situations or issues you're going through now, and you would appreciate maybe some of my insights. So I want to leave some time for us to take some questions because that's super important. But I want to share what I'll be sharing on today. Will be just 5 quick tips on what you can be doing in these times to progress your career. Now, I must start with a disclaimer. Trying to pack this into a 15-minute session, even a 30-minute session, even a 1-hour session is not enough. I wouldn't be doing it complete justice, but I will do my best with what I have. And if there is need for a follow-up or if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me privately. We are here to help you transformation house. Now, it is no one can argue that what's going on in the world right now in terms of the coronavirus pandemic is unprecedented. In fact, unprecedented, we should say, is like the word of the year. And no one saw this coming. It has come and seemingly out of nowhere disrupted our ways of working, disrupted the economy, and disrupted people's plans. So people are feeling this on a very, very personal level. So when you look in the news and you are seeing, big numbers like 30, I think in the UK we're up to about 35,000 or 37,000 deaths now. And at some point, you run the risk of that being a normal figure, but that is 37,000 families, friends, neighbors, people that have been impacted. So we must never lose sight of the fact that what is happening to us and what the entire world is going through is unprecedented. When we started the year, I can remember, when we started the year, we were poised for growth. The UK specifically and the world economy had undergone a sustained period of growth from the 2008 financial crisis. So employment were at an all-time high. And in fact, Donald Trump in the US looked set to be on course to win the election just based on the strength of the economy, because the economy was doing really well. And the main thing that was a lot of people's headaches, when we look at the global economy, was the sort of the war of words between China and America. And that seemed like something that was something in the distance, and there are two world powers, they will resolve it themselves. But largely, everyone was poised for growth. Companies had gone through like record bumper, period. A lot of companies had done well. And I can recall, I was reading on the press that two sort of tech companies in America were poised to list. So Airbnb was poised to list on the New York Stock Exchange. That means that they had a period of growth. They were very profitable, and the investors were preparing themselves for their payday. Their payday had come. They had pumped money into this company all of these years. This company was about to attain unicorn status, and this company was now about to go on the New York Stock Exchange. They were about to sell their shares, and they were about to retire, never to be seen again on the streets of hustle. But that plan, all of those plans were cut short. So Airbnb was set to list, and Pinterest was also set to list. And a lot of you know Pinterest. That's the sort of the graphics design or whatever app. But all of those plans have been put to rest now. And instead, the kind of news that we're confronted with is things like BA is going to have 12,000 redundancies. P&O Ferries is going to have a lot of redundancies as well. So we are encountering a lot of redundancy news, and people are going to lose their jobs. And so what I say is, in a pandemic, in an instance where there's a crisis and the economy has been decimated, like the way it has been here. I was just reading on the news in the UK, over 1 million people have filed for universal credits. Lots and lots of people are losing their jobs. In the US, I think they breached the 33 million people being unemployed, adults, 33 million adults being unemployed sort of last week. When you have that level of decimation in the economy, and companies can't make any money, they only have two levers to pull. In a business, when you run a business, you have two levers to pull. Is either you improve your income line, and when you can't improve your income line, you then put the expenses line then comes into play. And when you look at the expenses line, the single biggest thing that impacts a company's expense line is human resources. So when people can't grow their income line, they have to cut the expenses line, and then they have to look at, the employees, and then they have to look at people, who is going to make it and who is not going to make it. And coming back to the story of Airbnb, I think about last week, they wrote and they said a quarter of their company was going to go. So look at how the fortunes of a company are turned, so to speak, from January, when they were poised to list on the New York Stock Exchange and the co-founders were about to be, billionaires, to now having to rethink their strategy because no one is going anywhere. They're not making any money from people staying in other people's homes. And so they were getting rid of a quarter of their workforce. And so what you need to start thinking to yourself is whether you've been impacted or not. This is impacting everybody on a global scale. So whether you've been told your job is safe or not, there's no such thing as a safe job for life, except you are a frontline worker, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a healthcare professional, you're a pharmacist, then we can say yes, you are safe, or you're a supermarket worker. But if you work in the professions and if you work in any other non-essential industry, then everyone needs to start doing a few things at this time. Some people have already been impacted, sadly. Contracts have been terminated. People have been told, you're either followed or your job is going to go. But the first thing I would say is when you find yourself in this sort of crisis, and especially in this unique situation we have where loads of people, and there are lots of people on the streets and lots of people are saying a lot of things, the first thing you want to do is you want to be proactive and not reactive. So don't wait for it to happen to you. It may feel like you are helpless, but in every situation you are not helpless. And I recall last week when Aaron was sharing on never waste a crisis. He was talking about you still have control in every crisis. You still need to look for that element of control. So what can you control? You possibly cannot control whether you're going to make it onto a list or not. You possibly cannot control when whether your industry is affected or not. But what you can control is your readiness. So you need to get ready. Whether you've been told that your job is safe or not, whether you've been impacted or not, you need to start putting plans in place to get ready. And how do you do that? This brings me to my second point. Number 2 is if you've never completed or conducted a skills audit, now is the time to do it. What is a skills audit? A skills audit is a process by which you go through as a professional and you look at all of the skills you've accumulated over the course of your career, and you look at the efficiency, the relevance, or the usability of those skills now or in the future. And I'll give you an example. There was a time that a top skill, desirable skill, was developing film for picture. So, Kodak cameras, you take the picture, you make a trip to some dark film room lab somewhere, somebody there, in fact, loads and loads of people, there was an entire industry of people being employed to develop those films. Now that industry is decimated. That doesn't happen anymore because that skill has become obsolete because technology and digitization has come and has disrupted those skills. So you need to look at the arsenal of the skills that you have today, and you look at all of your skills. If you know it and if you've done it, you need to list it. So whether it's soft skills like negotiation or hard skills like coding, C++ or whatever, list all of those skills and list them in order of proficiency with your most proficient skills at the top and your least proficient skills at the bottom. And when you've then done that, you then need to look at your proficient skills and ask yourself the question, are these skills represented on my CV or my LinkedIn profile today? Because if you don't have those skills represented on your LinkedIn profile, then you are not selling yourself. Because when recruiters and hiring managers go on LinkedIn, they just search by your name because they don't know you. They search by the skills that they are looking for. So they search for people that understand regulatory change, and they search for people that understand transformation. So those are the kind of skills that you need to ensure your most proficient or your ninja level skills. That's why I call them your ninja level, that thing that you can do more than anyone else. You need to ensure that those skills are represented on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. So that's how you conduct a skills audit. But it doesn't end there, because That's just stage one. Stage one is you looked at your skills. Stage two is you want to ask yourself, are these skills relevant? Because if I can develop Kodak film, Kodak camera pictures, and those are not the skills that people are looking for today, and people are looking for Canva skills, right? Because we've come a long way from when people go and develop pictures in dark laboratory and they watch the films, to now people put up amazing designs on Canva. Then, you know, if you are still in the dark ages of I can develop Kodak films, those skills belong in a museum somewhere. Like, those are not relevant. So you need to look at the relevance of your skills. And how do you know the relevance of your skills? This is how you do it. You go, there's no shortcut. You need to do the work, and no one is going to do the work for you. You need to go online and you need to look at the roles that are being recruited for. It's amazing. Yesterday I'm not looking for a job, but I just like to know what's out there. I was looking at a job, and this job was looking for a social media listener data analytics skill. So I clicked on it out of interest, and it was for a beer company in America, the people that make Heineken. And what they're looking for is someone that is very proficient in social media, that is on all of these platforms, Instagram and LinkedIn and all of this. And they want that person to use data analytics to track what the consumers are saying about the brand, so that they can feed that back to the product team, and then they can use raw data to develop the product. That is an amazing skill to have. So if you're here, you spend all your time on social media, you know the ins and outs, you know how Instagram operates and the algorithm, you know it more than the founder itself. That is the kind of job you can position yourself for, because one of the key skills that he said they needed is someone that is proficient with social media. So those are the jobs that are existing today. 10 years ago, nobody was looking for a social media listener. It wasn't a thing. Now is a thing. So you look at what are the roles that are out there, and what are the key skills that are required for those roles. So remember, you've already done your own skills audit. That's stage one. Stage two is what are the key skills, and you have that on another page. Then you need to do a match so that the gaps can come out. Because if all of your skills are things like, let me give you an example. Maybe your skills are, I'm a project manager officer, I know how to run projects. And the skills that people are looking for are things like artificial intelligence, managing and running large complex programs, data analytics. It's very easy for you to see where the gap is. And so once you figure out what the gap is, you then fix the gap. That is how you conduct a skills audit. That is the ABC of a skills audit. The phase one is you list out all the skills that you currently have. Phase two, you research and identify the skills that the market is looking for. Stage three, identify the gap and plug the gap. That's all I have to say about that. But that is super important if you're going to be one that is proactive and not reactive. Like I said in the first point, a skills audit will help you put you ahead of the curve. Number three, recalibrate and don't retreat, because the tendency and the temptation to retreat would be heightened now, because especially if you're not someone that competes and you think, you know, there are so many people in the market, supply has exceeded demand, and how am I going to compete? The temptation, you may be tempted to retreat and not put yourself out there, but you need to recalibrate and not retreat. Retreating is not going to do you any good. If you retreat, you are going to be at the same level, and the magic is not going to happen. The magic happens when you look at the risk, you assess the risk, and you map out a plan and you forge your path through it. It's difficult. No one is saying it's easy, but we're in unprecedented times, and drastic times call for drastic actions. So you recalibrate. And how do you recalibrate? What does recalibration look like? Now, for so many different people, it may mean different things. And for some of you, you may be at a point where you actually think, you know what, this is a perfect time for me to step off the treadmill for a while, reflect, and think about what I want to do next. But please only do that if you have savings in your account. Don't put your family at risk. Don't put yourself at risk. Starvation is real. Don't do that if you don't have any money. If you don't have money saved up, please keep plowing ahead and build up a plan. Spend the time having a plan instead of stepping off and saying, you know, this time I really don't want to do anything. I want to recalibrate. You know, you need to approach it from a point of planning. So how do you recalibrate? So for some people, your recalibration may mean that you then need to think about, what else can I do? Right? You've already done the skills audit. You know what the market is looking for. So this is the right time for you to ask yourself, what else can I do? Now you don't have the luxury of, I've always worked as an accountant in the NHS, and so I'm only going to look for an accountant role in the NHS, for example. Or I've always worked in the airlines industry, and I'm going to look for another job in the airlines industry, because guess what? There may not be an airlines industry in the form that we know it for a very long time. So everyone needs to start thinking about, what does the future look like for me? What else can I do? What else can I do? What are my transferable skills? How else can I implement, how else can I transfer the skills I have today into other roles that exist today or in the future? And so one of the biggest ways, and this is something I tell everyone to do, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, you're self-employed, or you are a corporate career 9-to-5 person, everyone needs to ensure that they have a good, thriving network of connections that they nurture and they sustain, and that they work, and that network works for them. It is the single most important commandment of how to build a thriving career. You've all heard the saying, it is not what you know, it's who you know. Unfortunately and sadly, it's true. It's not a meritocracy out there. People hire people that they know, like, and trust. So you need to ensure that you're out there nurturing your connections, nurturing your network, or you're building new ones. And if you genuinely are serious and honest with yourself, and you look at the network you have right now and you think, this is not cutting the mustard, this can't really help me. In fact, maybe in your network, you're the top dog and you're the one helping everybody, but you don't have people that can help you. This is a good time to start making those connections and to start building new networks. It takes time, is an investment, and is not, I don't subscribe to connecting with somebody and making a demand immediately. That is off-putting. You have to lead with what you also can give to the person. You have to lead with a giver's gain mindset, and you have to lead with value. So even if you think you have nothing to give to the person, we all have something that we can give. So nurture your network and make new connections. The most critical point, and I'm coming to my final points, the most critical thing that everybody can be doing right now is we all need to develop the ability to read the tea leaves. I've seen so many people that go through their careers and they have their blind spots everywhere. You can't read the writing on the wall. You can't read the tea leaves and see the direction either an industry is going, your company is going, or your role is going. Some people are literally oblivious up until the point they get a tap on the shoulder and they tell them, sorry, it's time to leave. It never comes out of the blues. Believe me, it never, with the exception of, when we're in the coronavirus, period, and, you work in maybe the airline industry, hospitality, wholesale industries that is being impacted, and the shift is happening to everyone at the same time. And even then, there's still some people that will be protected. There's still some people that will not be as adversely impacted. You need to develop the ability to read the tea leaves. Don't wait to be disrupted. You need to disrupt yourself. You need to read the tea leaves. You need to, and some of the ways, how do you know? I always say to people, like when people come to me for coaching or mentoring, they're stuck and they're not getting ahead. The one question I always ask is, what is your organization saying to you? And people are like, what does that mean? At any point in time, your organization is saying something to you about your value to them. And that comes across in whether you're included in projects or not, the amount of your bonus, the amount of your compensation, how much your salary goes up, yearly, whether you have a supportive network of sponsors and network mentors in the organization that support you. All of these are indications of what the organization is saying to you. At every point in time, your organization is saying something to you. You need to be able to develop the skill to interpret what they are saying and to put in actions based on what the organization is saying to you. You need to sometimes jump before you are pushed, right? Because when you jump before you are pushed, it gives you more control and you're able to determine it by your own timeline. So you need to read the tea leaves. But lastly, you need to read the tea leaves. And what do you do with those tea leaves? You need to pivot. Pivoting is the name of the game right now. And it would take a very resilient mindset. It would take a very savvy person to be able to understand that actually is not a zero-sum game. The fact that I'm here does not mean that this is the only thing I can do. That's the most, that's first, you need to get that into your mindset. You need to come at this with an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. It doesn't matter that there are 33 million unemployed people in the US, it's tough, it's sad, but that's not going to be your reality. It doesn't matter that there are 1 million people signed up to the universal credit system in the UK. That is tough and that is sad. But again, that's not going to be your reality. You need to develop an abundance mindset. You need to have a mindset that even in this time of crisis, you're going to thrive in your career and you are going to write the rules for what you want in your career. And so with that abundance mindset, because if you do not first settle it in your mind that you're going to come out of this okay, then you would not have the clarity and the resilience and the grit and the nimbleness and agility that you need to identify what we call pivot points. And I'll give you an example of a pivot point. So for instance, if you are an accountant, say you're a finance manager and you currently work in BA or Virgin, you don't need a prophetess or a prophet to tell you that your role will very likely go. So what do you start to think? What do you start to do? You start to think about, okay, using my skill, knowing that I have the experience and I have skills and I'm a very good finance person, where else can I use those skills? You can then think something like, okay, we're in the middle, the Chancellor of the United Kingdom has said we are heading for the worst recession that we've ever seen. So what does that mean? It means there are going to be liquidations, there are going to be companies going under. And when you have liquidations, and companies going under, they need to hire administrators and liquidators. And administrators and liquidations teams are made up of finance people because they need people that are skilled in finance to come up and clean up the balance sheets to get the company ready for either a quick sale, a restructure, or to run down the balance sheets of the company. And so they need finance people. I know all of this because I worked in liquidations in 2008. It was the place to be when the crisis happened. So I was safe because I was working in the liquidations team. So you can then think, okay, that is one area that will be recruiting because they will be on the up. So you then naturally then start to look for roles in that area. You don't wait for the big scramble. You don't wait for 10,000 people to be in the market scrambling for the same role. You are proactive and you quickly identify your pivot points, you map out a plan and you follow it. And you should have more than one pivot point. I advise you to have 3 to 5 pivot points or pivot roles that you could do using the existing skills that you have. Now, the temptation might be that being, a lot of us, and I would imagine a lot of us on this call are Africans, the temptation might be that you may want to say, okay, will you retreat to what what is our comfort blanket, and that is, I'm going to do another master's. Don't go and do another master's. What you know is enough. You already know enough. Don't go and do another master's. Of course, you can take some online courses or whatever, but do that from a strategic intent. Don't use that to avoid doing the work. All of these things I've outlined, because these things are hard, and I know that. So a lot of us sometimes, we go and sign up for more courses and more masters and more PhD because it is less risky. Because you can also say, I'm doing something. When someone asks you, you can say, oh yes, I'm doing my master's, my second or my third master's. That's not going to move the dial of your life right now, okay? You can't even go to school. You're going to be doing online. So you might as well invest that online time. You might as well invest that online time into doing all of these things, identifying your pivot points and looking to pivot into those roles. Time is up. I literally have 10 minutes left to go, but I've quickly run through those points. I'm just going to summarize again. Be proactive, not reactive. Perform a skills audit using the 3-step framework that I've outlined. Recalibrate, don't retreat. The temptation may be to retreat and think, I'm going to put myself out of this competitive game. Don't do that. Just recalibrate your plans. Make connections and build a network of connections and sustain them, nurture them, and they will work for you. And lastly, read tea leaves and pivot accordingly. Are there any questions? I appreciate that has been really, really quick and we've rapidly gone through them, but I would like to take some questions in the 10 minutes that we have left. Are people there? Because I just don't want it to be like I'm here talking to myself. Are you guys out there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're here.
Yeah. All right, great. Thank you. Do you have any questions on any of the things I've talked about? I know I've shared a lot, but or are you guys just still taking it in? Okay. It doesn't look like there are any questions. So I'm gonna okay, a question is coming. He said, how do you find new connections? Oh, that's great. The way you find new connections, one, you can first start with the connections that you have. If you've not been nurturing them, you can refresh. You can refresh those connections. Reach out back to people that that you're already connected with, and just get back in touch. And the way to make new connections, LinkedIn, guys, like LinkedIn is a powerful tool. If you're not on LinkedIn, get yourself on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you're not taking it seriously, please take it more seriously than Snapchat and Instagram. For 9 to 5 professionals, is a fantastic tool. And that's the way you can make new connections. Just you can target people that work in your target industry, target sector, or target companies, and connect with them. And again, like I said, please don't connect with someone and immediately make an ask. Just connect to them and say it's nice to be connected to you in your network, and then you can then nurture that relationship afterwards. Laolu says, do you have any skills assessment tools you can recommend? I'm just going to make a plug for Career Masterclass. We've developed an online course that teaches you how to do a skills audit using this 3-step framework in a more detailed way. And that course will be launched next week, Tuesday. So look out for that. You can follow us at careermasterclass.org to be aware of when that course launches. But I'm sure there are other tools that are good on the market, but ours has been tailored specifically and designed for these times of how to get a job in uncertain times. Okay, someone says, how can one realistically fill the gap in skills in these current times apart from online courses? How can you fill the gap in skills in these current times apart from online courses? So online courses are great. Like I said, if you say you have for instance, technical skills, if you have technical skills, you have a gap there, you can do some online courses. You can also learn from mentors. You can learn from people that are already working in that area or that have those skills, and they can teach you. But the best way to learn anything is by experience. But obviously, if it's technical skills, things like, digital skills or data analytics, it's good to take online courses from reputable sources. I've been told that I need to close because Zoom is going to cut us off soon. But thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found this really useful. If you have any questions that I couldn't answer, or you want to reach out to me separately, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or send an email to Transformation House and someone will get it over to me. But thank you so much for joining this evening, and all the best. Good luck with your job search and with your career growth. But remember, the most important thing is you can still do it even in these times. You can. You absolutely can. Thank you so much.